all board members need to be on those calls. It's perceive it as a community call, right? Whoever makes it, but I don't think it's the board members, all board members' responsibility to attend. Although we have to double check tomorrow. These are, some of the specific questions. I'm not 100% sure.
No
So,
worries.
yeah.
Cool. Maybe we can do like a rotation.
Right. And I mean, you seen last week as we discussed pillars. Sorry, not pillars, but like those 4 buckets of work that need to be done. I'm sure, as we split up responsibilities, there will be some board members that will have to at least, attend those community calls and get the people to weigh in synchronously. And so, yeah. But yeah, Daniel unfortunately can't make it today. I have to actually also, I'm really sorry, but run in like 30 minutes from now. So this is going to be likely a shorter one. We are, deployment is happening. I'm traveling to Italy tomorrow on short notice. Daniel is basically leaving the US this week. He's moving to Israel. Lots of things happening and really, lots of things to get done. Which are very urgent. So I hope you guys are, don't mind or not angry or mad if we take this one a little bit shorter. But the board meeting is going to take place as usual, and Robert and Joe will be also there. So tomorrow is as usual.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. Hey, Goops. Hey, Nadil, I think we haven't engaged before. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in to the Aavegotchi weekly meeting. All right. So yeah, I'm basically open to take this call where, however we want. For Nadia, I think, if oh, this is not supposed to be a point. It's actually supposed to be a double point, then hard. There you go. Yeah, so thank Aavegotchi as a pilot that's supposed to recognize and reward contributors for the valuable contributions they make to our community here. And we've passed the governance process a couple weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3, and are now working on deployment. Meeting is still running every week. This meeting here is almost an old one, old in a sense that it's already up and running for a couple of weeks. But it has been running to get the community to weigh in, give the opportunity to speak up and sort of tell us, how they want to structure the proposal as well. And so now that we passed the governance process, now that we have board meetings as well as of last week, there are going to be some shifts. We are literally in this transition period, which is very strange. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Thrax, honestly, this meeting is, I think, up and running for almost 3 months. So we had at least 10 calls already, which is, crazy. Time flies. But it's going to be cool. And so on a high level, Nadia, this is what you have to know. I actually missed the community call yesterday, so I don't know if something has been mentioned. But as we sort of push through this transition process and sort of finish deployment, basically, and onboarding, you will be able actually to see sort of the impact and ways of how to get involved with this pilot. But we really, want the need to community weigh in and give feedback. So it's pretty cool that you're here. I hope a bunch more members may join. If you, T-Bird, Thrax, Hefe, have any questions, feel free to bounce them off of me while we are here.
Yeah, I guess for me, the question for me would be, do you guys have a rough idea of some of the first initial rewards we might see when we launch in June?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think it will be obviously tailored or a version of the things that we proposed. So I think we proposed a couple of sample contributions, and so those board calls tomorrow are specifically, there's a team that will be working on sort of finding ways and scenarios of how we can, create contributions or sort of, how should I say this? Sorry. Um, so those may not be specific individual contributions, but they can be perceived as contribution areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to actually go back to the snapshot proposal because I remember we, proposed 6 different types of contributions, and so either it will be it's a specific contribution or a version, and then with the board we will figure out, okay, is there a scenario that we can create that is gives us the opportunity to validate that this contribution happened, B, that it's actually a value creating contribution, and C, what will be the reward we can attach to it, and then establish it and allow the community to give feedback. But to sort of answer your question, really short answer is it will be something based on the proposal, and from there on we expand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that's good to know. And I also see T-Bird saying there's a meeting in a couple hours, so I think we'll have some more
Ooh.
background information there after.
There you go. So yeah, cool. Thanks, T-Bird. I already missed that. Like this is cool because Joe. So might be good to know. So Joe and Robert, who are Joe is our Aavegotchi, so he's our community lead, and Robert is our chief product officer. They're the 2 people currently working on the quote unquote customer success work stream within ThriveCoin, which basically just means they are spearheading the ThriveCoin support. So we've introduced them to the board members last week and sort of went through, the initial questions that need to be answered in order to get onboarded. Part of our process of how, the customer success workstream works with communities is we split up the work and sort of get work done into buckets to be more efficient, because then this week there will be a bit more work to get done in order to deploy, but once deployed and everything is up and running, of course we will have 1 to 2 hours as we promised. But in order to get this done efficiently, we split up into 4 sort of teams. So there's now 4 groups of people. I think Thrax is part of every of those because he's the liaison. I think T-Bird, I already forgotten which groups they are, but now we're working in sort of smaller working groups in order to ensure that, we, basically meetings every day this week. You're right. Sorry about that. It's like, this has been one of our big learnings for us at the ThriveCoin team, has been basically that we promised the sort of a launch without 100% checking back with Robert and Joe if it's actually feasible. So you can blame me and maybe Daniel, but part of the reason why you're sort of stuck in meetings this week and maybe also next week is because we said we will launch on June 1st, and Robert and Joe had no idea. So when the Thank Aavegotchi core prop passed, we were like, hey guys, good news, the proposal passed, we launch on 1st of June. And Robert was like, when was this communicated? We were like, oh, you guys, I think you knew that. Like, we shared the proposal with you. Like, no, has never been said. I mean, okay, it's the proposal. Everyone is like swamped with work, so they missed that part. And so it was, kind of actually our mistake. And sorry that you guys are so sort of stuck in calls this week and next. But it will be hopefully worth it because we can keep our promise and launch, ASAP. Fingers crossed, 1st of June. And you will be very, very familiar with our processes, and the knowledge you sort of gained will be hopefully very useful for your term. I see Latsan has joined. Hey, Latsan. Hey, Roxiano. Good to see you as well. I remember, I think we haven't talked yet, but I know I reached out to you because you've been nominated to the board. And yeah, we're actually also on the election. So thank you for being interested in this program. You know, it's just a blessing knowing that we have core community members, well known by the community, and also very interested in this pilot. Yeah.
And
Um,
Roxiano, quick shout out to Roxiano because she is co-hosting the DAO call with me, or she has co-hosted the
nice.
DAO call. So so
There you go.
far, yeah, so far we got myself, Mike Callum, and Roxiano on the roster. But it looks like we might get some more friends that hopefully we can get them comfortable hosting, and then as you and I talked, the goal is eventually for these things to be integrated for rewards as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
anything the community likes and sees as
Mhm.
valuable. Sorry, T-Bird, go ahead.
No, so I was just making noise on accident.
Good. Or Thrax. Someone, I think I cut someone of you off.
No, I just agreed. I said, yeah, I like Roxiano's one of our stars, man. She makes great content and she's very involved in the community. So I fully expect to see her benefiting from this program.
Yeah.
A lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can definitely foresee this as well. Saw some of the tutorials as well. Love people showing their face. To be honest, it's I respect every anon, but I'm a people's person in some way. Like I'm very social people. And one of the big things about Web3 and sort of crypto and this whole space was just at some point I just missed being around people. You're kind of around people all the time, but you don't feel them. You don't see their expressions, their faces. And so every now and then seeing beautiful faces is a beautiful thing. So there you go. I appreciate that. There was one I think that I forgot to mention. Yeah, in terms of the community calls, this is certainly something that we have in Bankless too. So I can tell you that it has been part of the operations department at Bankless. So the way Bankless, does governance is we have all these fancy guilds and departments, which they're separate purposes. A guild is supposed to train sort of first of all attract and train and retain talent, and the department is operational, keep things working, right, get it done, full stop. So I see departments as sort of the hearts and brains of the body. It's the treasury department, it's the operations department, and guilds sort of like specific talent that we need in the in Bankless DAO. And so it's I don't know, AV, it's research, it's education, producing content, whatever it is, right? And I see, DAOs, a lot of DAOs working similarly. And so switching the host for community calls has been a big part of operations department. But there was less traction, like there was less interest from people to actually do that. But since we have, I think we have a contribution type on ThriveCoin where, on our web page, by the way, Bankless Rewards is it called, and we will have a, specific page, a website also for Aavegotchi. People are basically just connecting the wallet, and then we are able to validate that they have actually talked during the community call, and then they will be auto rewarded for this work that they have done, right? Which was on Discord, would have been not recognized. Maybe it would have been thanked by the community and be like, hey, done it. Here's a tip, right, or whatever. But through ThriveCoin, through the Thrive protocol, we can scale that up and make it measurable, which is dope.
An idea from Dan also earlier today. Basically, one of the possible rewards could be that if you speak on a space, like a Twitter space that is not ours, like a competitor or something, but you're wearing a Gotchi PFP. So like, they're Gotchi anywhere, you know what I mean? So we're trying to basically either get them to continue wearing their Gotchi or talk in spaces that are out of our sphere. So kind of market out of our circle.
Yeah, Robert will love that question, and Joe as well, because they will have lots of questions on top of that. And I already have one, which is kind of like, what is the value in here? Like, is it having a representative and not a community call sort of backing up Aavegotchi?
So essentially, what I'm trying to do is break out of our little echo chamber that we have on Twitter. It's a lot of it happens to most NFT communities, where if you join Brozo NFT, all the tweets you see are Brozo and the people that are following Brozo. So we just want to see gotchis out there in other communities, basically. Like if you're in Aavegotchi but you're wearing a Polygon Punk or something, that's a little. We're like, why are you wearing that? So if it's the other way around, and it's just a curiosity thing, and it's not like it's an interest. Like, I like your PFP. Why are you wearing your PFP? And that's honestly one of the first ways to get into a project, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I like what it looks like.
I think what we can certainly do, this is a good idea actually, because Twitter has this ability to verify, actually to have an actual NFT as a profile picture. So what we can do is we can say, contributors in a season, which are verified by us, so they're not bots and bad actors. If they have a verified NFT and it's an Aavegotchi one on Twitter, we can certainly track the spaces they attend. The question would be just how do we verify that they have done something during the space that is valuable to the community, except of just showing up? Because if you walk through it, is like, okay, how long do they have to be in the space? Then what are they supposed to do? Maybe a good way to do that would be track, let's say that they have attended the space for 30 minutes and then they have retweeted a quote, retweeted the space and wrote a personal testimonial on, let's say, why it is important to be an Aavegotchi community DAO member, Aavegotchi DAO community member that attends other spaces, which then kicks off sort of a cycle of contributions done by others, because they're like, oh, let me join this other space, retweet it, and actually say, what I think is to be true. Like, why is this space important for all of Aavegotchi DAO members? Just as an idea, is this sort of going in the direction that you thought of?
Yeah, exactly. So like the more we can gate it, so it actually becomes difficult to pull the reward, the better. But I have no problem with just allowing people to collect a small reward for the season. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I wore my Gotchi PFP from the beginning to the end of this month, so I'll get a reward. That's like the base level of it. You know what I mean?
100%, man. It totally makes sense. And what mental framework I use in order to figure out, how can we create a path from A to B, which leads to A value creation, and B, a member being rewarded, is, what is this scenario? And this is when I say scenario, what I mean, like the path, the actual contribution, the work done through this process that we can sort of see or make visible through publicly available data from different sources, and be put together to create this large picture of like, this is what has been done at this point for this long. We can verify that, and we are able to sort of track that, and it's actually a value creating action. Communities align with that as well through feedback, and sort of take it from there. So the scenario thing sort of helps. And so if you can and this is sort of the cool part about this pilot, and in general about this sort of evolutionary product that we call, is like, it allows you to be creative. You have to have a creative mind and sort of think about different ways of getting work done, basically, that create value for the DAO, and then track which sources are, what are the checkpoints, basically. Like, I tried to envision what are the checkpoints there, and how can we verify that, and what are the validation mechanisms that we want to set up, i.e. being 10 minutes in the space or being 30 minutes in the space, as an example. And then, what is the value attached to it, and how much do we actually want to pay for that labor, i.e., reward the people for the work done. So, yeah. So much on that. And GM, Soju, good to see you. Good to see you. I think Yannick just went in and out. I had a good conversation with him as well. I think he has been also nominated to the board. Didn't make it. Actually, didn't accept. I think his nomination it was. Or I mean, I get it. People are, usually high performing contributors are already, maxed out, and so maxed out that they can make up time. I was same boat too. At Bankless a lot of time, so no worries. And then we have like those very badass people like FF running the extra mile. Yeah, just buy more monitors if you're swamped. There you go. That's how you cope with stress and burnout. Not health advice, by the way, but
This is very not health advice. It's bad for your health. Great for your productivity.
Yeah.
hey, Latson, good to see you too. Umami, oh gosh, what's the English pronunciation for machete? How do I pronounce this?
Machete.
Machete.
Yeah.
Machete. Okay, gosh. I mean, come on. I'm an Austrian. And I have a like it's pretty tough, but good to see you too. Nice gotchi, by the way. There you go. Yeah, nice wearables too. I have two wearables on my watch list, but it's I have to, oh gosh, I have to bridge funds to Polygon. I have to first get to those funds and then bridge them to Polygon and then go and purchase all of that. And it's like it's on my to-do list, but May is just crazy. But expect my Bitcoin gotchi to have some wearables soon. So
What wearables are on your radar?
it's a good question. So I actually wrote it down. I think I have. Let me find it. It was a crown, I think, a little crown, because I thought it was pretty cool, and it's, I used to. I think it's just like a symbol for for the first half of my life, which, I used to train judo, quite successfully actually. It's a mess that I quit, but I was pretty good, and I always wanted to be the best of the best, of course. And so I was like, how could this gotchi reflect me in some ways, like
Yes.
being this little judo king, right? This 11-year-old judo king. On the other side, there was this gosh, I can't find it, but I think it was a jacket or something. Oh my gosh, this can't be true. Wait. Yeah, I it's somewhere here. Oh, I got it. Oh yeah, obviously, and the kimono, which is basically also my was something that I wore very often.
The kimono with the Santa hat also makes a really nice Santa Claus outfit for Christmas time.
Ah,
It's a little hack.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. The life hacks. Yeah, I'll put it down. Thanks. I know what I will wear around Christmas time. Yeah, and by the way, welcome everyone. Yeah, I said hi to you as well. This is still the community call on Mondays. So we'll probably close a little bit earlier. I told us at the beginning, some of you weren't here, but we are basically in the onboarding phase. As board members like T-Bird and Thrax will know, we have a bunch of meetings set up in order to successfully deploy and kick off as promised on June 1st. On top of me sort of traveling to Italy for a conference tomorrow on very short notice, plus Daniel moving from the US to Israel. And basically, so our whole, there are just a lot of things happening. It's like Web3 plus a lot of other things. So we gotta apologize for closing earlier today, but expect after deployment, I hope we will have even more traction. I'm used to 40 people here in the audience at least. These, I will never forget some of the first community calls, or in general the community calls at Aavegotchi. It's always stacked, which is absolutely amazing. And we probably need to market it a little bit more. I one of the big learnings for me, if I can quickly share it, and then I let people react, because I have a bad habit of talking a lot and sometimes too much. I need to shut up and listen more often. What I'm telling myself since a decade, by the way, but never mind. Is basically that we underutilized, I think, the general chat. I think we did a great job engaging in the ThriveCoin thread, which was great to have at first place, right? A dedicated thread, it's amazing, or a channel, whatever. And we had the community calls. I think a lot of people may have missed our async communication because they were simply not checking out the ThriveCoin thread. But what they are checking out regularly is perhaps the general chat. So a feedback that I got, I think it was actually maybe from Gotchinomics, but I'm not 100% sure, was there was not enough awareness for Thank Aavegotchi within the community, besides obviously the proposals and the appearances during the community call, that we actually engage a lot. So we probably need some quick announcements, maybe in general chat, but I'm sure Thrax, as we talk about marketing in the board and how we can create more awareness, this is something that you're going to tackle and give feedback to as well.
Yeah, for sure. And these like weekly meetings, we didn't really announce too much because there was nothing like pressing. But as we start doing more stuff and we need feedback from the community and things like that, we'll do like announcements and things. I'm sure we can do like one or two everyone tags and things.
We also have the Aavegotchi DAO Twitter, which is fully set up. I own the email, I have the Twitter handle, so that could be another thing to consider in terms of promotion and marketing, is we could activate that Twitter account very easily. We have a Lens account for Aavegotchi DAO as well. So we got some socials we could easily activate if we were to make that part of the initiative.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to also amplify some of the Aavegotchi DAO native sort of channels or websites, Discord, whatever it is, like get more traction and visibility, people engaging with it, sharing thoughts, sharing feedback, building on top of that, I think is something that we will see too, because I got a list at some point a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, from ZeroXZFi about sort of all the platforms you guys use. I was like, what the heck? Like, oh, holy shit. Like, I wasn't even aware of them, which is, good and bad. On one side, it gives me a lot of opportunity to dive into even more content. On the other side, it's just unfortunate because I'm like, if I miss that, how many other people are actually missing it too? So we need to sort of generate awareness and create some type of scale that allows for continuous engagement with those platforms, which is certainly necessary.
Yeah, and we will be hopefully doing a trial of DAO Lens as well, and that might help kind of bring all the information onto their one platform, making it a little easier to keep track of everything happening.
Yeah, 100%. I'm also very excited about the Twitter account we are hopefully going to set up for Thank Aavegotchi. I think some cool news from Thank Ape is that I think we have 1,000 followers, and I think last week we just gained like 180, and major accounts like Yuga Labs and Animoca, whatever, they all started following us, feeding us. So at Thank Ape, even they have also, such as we do here, they have a large ecosystem ThinkApe has basically gained sort of awareness it needs after a couple of weeks, which is crazy.
Nice.
So I think we will see something similar here, and at some point, later this year, it will be very, very fun because we will get to play with incentives, with models, with ways of how to cross engage in meaningful ways, and there's this is just the start. This is literally just the start. It's going to be a fun ride. Fingers crossed. I really believe DAOs will sort of will play within a large role in the next bull run. A lot of things are not just like macroeconomic, basically economically driven, right? Through putting in money into the market, but also very narrative driven. So I think, let's see if DAOs can live up to the stakes and the praises we gave them, but there will be certainly some very attractive narratives in the next bull run that will attract a lot of people to join. So
Yeah.
A quick update also, I had a meeting this morning with Coder Dan. We got approval for our extra channels and bot things that we need to add. So we're pretty much, we're going to be set. We're going to be rolling very soon.
let's go, baby. Nice. Awesome. That's good news. That's great. Thank you, Thrax, for, thank you. This is amazing.
Pleasure, man. Honestly, like what you said about DAOs being the center of the next bull run, basically, I think that's very true. But I think there needs to be some significant metamorphosis between now and then, because DAOs are very, I look at them like a hydra, but each head wants to do its own freaking thing. So it needs tools like DAOLens and ThriveCoin and things like that to basically make us more cohesive, because the way that things have been working is that smaller teams break off from the DAO and they make something amazing. And that's we just need to streamline this flow of give people a mission and let them do their thing, because that's what we've seen the most success with, basically.
I'm a huge fan of working groups, task forces. I think you're onto something there with ThriveCoin enabling those groups.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, the whole purpose of Thank Aavegotchi, I think, changed. The goal is to reward people for the work that they do. The goal is to create a world where real equity is possible, where Aavegotchi DAO community members can be in Western societies, but they can be also in the Philippines. They can be wherever they are. If they devote their lives to our community here and create value, they will be rewarded proportionate to the value they create. This will allow for communities to grow. Monaverse is tight. Yeah, I mean, this will allow for communities to grow on a scale that I think we haven't seen yet. This will be very, very exciting, I think, as a sociologist to observe, because I'm really, 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 really interested, figuring out and experiencing what role DAOs and sort of digitally governed organizations will play, in a person day-to-day's life, like my parents, who don't really, they care what I do here, but they care because they love me. Otherwise, they don't really care. Why? Because it's not impacting their lives. It's not impacting the day-to-day. So my question will be how are DAOs, how will they impact a person's day-to-day life? A random person's day-to-day life. I think we're seeing a couple of things already. So BitDAO sort of built this layer 2. What is it called? I think, or it's empowered by EigenLayer, which is a protocol built by BitDAO. But BitDAO is some way on the forefront of, building protocols out of decentralized governed organizations, right? It's not a development corporation behind it. It's not necessarily a small team, a legal entity. It's basically a decentralized community that has worked on building that protocol, which now is being adopted by people like you, me, and maybe others. And then, there are a few steps until maybe a day-to-day users, a day-to-day sort of a common person uses this technology. And so we're already seeing a potential for protocols built by DAOs, which empower certain things, which then are used for, a person's day-to-day life, maybe. So I definitely see a way, a potential role for DAOs and building maybe infrastructure or whatever it is. Maybe they will, who knows what they are going to become, but it's evolutionary, I guess. And yeah, we'll know.
I mean, think about it, man. The way, oh, hang on, let me switch headphones.
Can you repeat the last part? Sorry, you were cutting out.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Like the way I see it, everything is moving digital. Like every single thing we're going to be doing in the future is going to be tied to something digital. All our documents, all our like healthcare records, all our taxes. So it makes total sense that the next stage of government is going to also be digital.
You should
So if-
read Balaji, I don't know his last name, but he's a big advocate for this in the crypto space, and he's written a whole almost like an essay on like the nation state and how nation states could be digital and will no longer be associated to countries. It's really interesting actually how far he takes it. It's a good read. There it is. Send it. Yeah. The network state.
I shared it, the network state. I like his points, though. I'm
He's
always
very
skeptical
sensationalist.
about things. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I'm just saying he makes good points, but he's very sensationalist. Like he
Mhm.
pushes it really
Mhm.
far.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a visionary stance on the whole thing. But
Yeah.
But this sort of is just an example of where it could go. And when we
Yeah.
talk about potential quote unquote network state, network can be distributed globally. And so, how are these humans going to coordinate what they do? And then coordinate sort of the set of rules encoded into a protocol. These are likely going to be DAOs or a version of DAOs. I think Vitalik has talked about 5 different types of digital human coordination systems, I would call them, even if there's certainly a better way to describe it. But either it's a digital autonomous corporation, digital autonomous organization, then there will be DC or something, or DZ. Like he brought up a couple of examples, and it was just basically saying, who knows how we will call these things, but they have something in common, which is people come together to build a protocol and find a way to coordinate the work that they do towards a common mission and be aligned in the way they distribute and govern capital, which is sort of the treasury. And I think it comes to, this is how we used to be when we were in communities. We definitely don't have these, a lot of, that's hypotheticals, but we will definitely, there's certainly some benefits in doing that, and we will experience it. So, yeah.
I just want to say, like, the precursor to, like, CBDCs are coming, yes? We all know this. We don't have a choice. And the precursor to that was our own versions of crypto. We came up with that. We, like, pioneered the systems. The next, like, logical step for the governments would be, like, digital. They want to take everything digital. They're taking CBDCs and using them as a form of, essentially, control. So the way I see it is it's up to us to pioneer the decentralized version of all of these things so that when the government has their version, we have a way to argue. Because without it, we're not going to be able to do anything.
Sure.
Well, yeah, it's a parallel system that's being built to the traditional system, which in my opinion, is, I don't want to go too off topic, but it is crumbling. Institutions are crumbling, and so there needs to be something in its place for when these things no longer can serve their original purpose. And so I think what we're doing here is slow and steady, but it's going to take some time. And eventually, I could see what we're doing here being mainstream adoption, but could be quite some time before we see that.
No, I just mean like in general, like if we want to be able to debate the powers that be, even if they are, even if the institutions don't crumble, even if they end up being the ones that are in control, the only way that we'll be able to have a voice and to communicate and to make our voices properly heard is if we all have decentralized voices where we can actually make our voices heard on the forum that they provide for us. And if we don't do this properly, we won't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the total unlock is basically if we can own our data.
Yeah.
I mean, we are already being very your word. That's the thing. Like companies are currently using your to monetize it, run ads, and basically, earning off of it. And so I think the big shift, and what I hope for Web3 and also the work that we do here is just allowing for an internet that allows you to control your data, maybe together with other community members, and then create this data pool that may be worth something, and then decide how do you want to utilize it, and who's going to earn based on that. And so maybe it won't be digital corporations anymore. Maybe it won't be Web2 companies anymore. It will be community members in a DAO. So a DAO may not be, maybe just a version to, I had this train of thought. Maybe just a way to own your data and make money out of it instead of the big, large corporations basically making you the product and making all the money out of you. So Web3 social media platforms could be actually a real big thing. On top of, we're using Discord and other platforms, but they are still sort of Web2. This is also part of our goal with Aavegotchi is to actually bridge literally what we do if the community wants it, so right, it's like based on the community feedback, make the proper bridges towards being on chain, and which requires to use Web3 tools, which are built on chain. So over time we're going to make efficient and valuable transitions to Web3 platforms, and we will have very good ways for people to get used to it, because we will have clear contribution paths and incentives in place to say we have 20,000 community members. It will take us a month to ensure that 80% of them know how to use platform XYZ. Why is it important? Because it's entirely Web3. Why is that important? Is because it allows us to own our interactions with the protocol, with the network, basically, which then allows us that we can own our data points. Is this valuable? Yes or no? Yes, probably. Why? Because those data points can then be owned by us or this person. Well, actually can be owned by this person, and this person can decide to monetize it and make themselves benefit, or kick back 10% to the DAO as a way of a membership, basically. And so who knows, maybe the DAOs in the future will be governed by people actually kicking back a portion of the data they are able to monetize in order to show skin in the game and commitment to the DAO. And maybe we are seeing just the first iteration here of, something very interesting in the future.
Well said. And I think that's a good point to end off on, unless we have other things we want to discuss here.
No, I thank you for.
I want to respect your time, Synod, because I know you said 30 minutes.
Now I know where there's a timekeeper in calls, because I totally missed that we are 50 minutes past what I actually wanted to end up.
I was like, he must really like us if he says he has to go and then spends another 15 minutes. So.
No, I love you guys. It has been, one of the best experiences I've had since joining this, Web3 a couple of years ago. Just being in this community, being embraced, being part, having the opportunity to speak, having the opportunity to, bring value, and hopefully, fulfill the promises that we make, which should be more beautiful than in the future as well. So no, I'm really thankful for you guys. This is amazing. Okay,
Sure.
but then yeah, that would be my sort of final words. Is I think we'll have this call next week again. Let's see. Still transition phase. The board is going to have a bunch of calls this week, as T-Birds and Thrax can say, but soon we will be able to deploy. And as I've said a couple of times already, feel free to, a couple of times I mentioned every call, but if there's something unclear, you have questions, or just want to, hang out, have a one-on-one, feel free to reach out to me. But I'm seeing people, Goops, Johnny, oh gosh, Machete. I'm messing it up again. Machete. Machete. Oh gosh, I won't forget the name, but maybe the pronunciation. Umami, Nadiel, Flame, Musashi. How's it going? Face, Soju, Roxiano, Latsam. Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, this will be. See you guys soon.
Oh, I got one question here just from Latsan. Last minute question here before we end off. What can we do before what can we do before then to get prepared for the season starting June 1st? Is there anything friends might want to be thinking about?
Great question. I think attending these calls here probably one of the most valuable things. It's up to the board now, who has been elected by you as a representative, to get the work done. So you can give folks like Thrax and T-Bird a big shout out because they're taking the heavy lift now. But attend these calls here, ask the question. The ThriveCoin thread is still up. Just engage and otherwise wait patiently, and then we will be hopefully able to launch soon.
Yeah. Think about the specific pillars too, and see where you fit in. What kind of work you envision yourself doing, and then maybe even reach out to that representative for that sector. That might help too. Get a better idea.
I wouldn't start actually working. Like if you think that the wiki could use updating or whatever, don't actually start updating the wiki or writing an update, but like put a note down saying the wiki could use an update, and then maybe note where it could be updated. And then when June comes around, that's a good one, because wiki for sure is going to be one of the tasks. Like we want to update our information. So you can start making notes and things, but I wouldn't worry too much. We're going to give you a very clear thing that you'll be able to start working on immediately.
Great input. Great feedback, Thrax. And I have to thank you both. Absolutely right. Like, I agree. And
All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time, everyone, for coming out. I appreciate it. We'll see you same time next week, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, guys. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you, friends. Peace.
Bye-bye. Peace.